So thank you for coming to our webinar about currency transfer challenges when moving abroad. This webinar is in collaboration with Wise. I'm Tal Gibbesch. If some of you don't know me, I'm Tal Gibbesch, and I am the founder of a relocation immigration boutique agency, and we help people moving to Germany. You're going to have all the details in the sign up, and I'm pretty sure you're going to be more familiar with our services if you're moving to Germany. With us today is Robert Denis from Wise, and he's going to have a presentation, and we're going to have Q&A at the end. Please write your questions in the chat, and let's start. So Robert, floor is all yours.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Good day, everybody. Thank you so much for the introduction there, Tal. I really appreciate it. And thank you, everybody, for joining us here tonight. So, well, it's night for me. I'm not sure what it is for where you are. I'm just going to share my screen here quickly. All right. Can you see my screen, Tal?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So firstly, as Tom mentioned today, we are going to talk about the top 3 currency challenges when moving abroad. Now, my name is Robert Neys. I'm a partner operations specialist at Wise. I've been with Wise for just over 2.5 years now. And I've been helping people move money across the borders and trying to make it as easy and effective as possible for them, while also saving them money to do while doing so. Today, however, we are going to be talking about the three bigger challenges that expats face when sending, receiving, or converting money while living abroad. I'll give you a brief overview of who and what Wise is. Then we'll discuss hidden fees, opaque payment processes and speed, exchange rates, complex tax reporting. I'll show you a little bit about how it works, how to navigate Wise, and then we can end off with a Q&A session. So what is Wise? Essentially, it's an international account where you can hold, spend, and receive in multiple currencies, all from one place. Wise isn't just a money transfer app, it's an international account. The account process is very straightforward. The entire process is done online and it's completely free to sign up. There aren't any subscriptions or monthly fees. You can hold up to 40 plus different currencies in your account. You can get account details in 8 plus currencies. Transfer rates you get transparent transfer rates and always know what you're paying and how much you're going to be receiving on the other end. Automatically apply discounts on large transfers, so anything over £20,000 or the equivalent currency within a single month. You get dedicated support to help you along with every step of the way. It can be quite daunting when you're sending large transfers across borders. And naturally, you also have the Wise debit card, so you can spend like a local when traveling abroad. Now, a little bit about Wise. Wise is a global technology company building the best way to move and manage money across the world. We were founded in 2011 with the vision of making international money movement fast, affordable, convenient, and transparent. And I know there's a whole lot of stats on the screen here right now. You don't need to look at all of them, but some of the more important ones, I think, are that we're trusted by over 15.6 million active users. That's personal and business customers. We move over $158 billion annually through our infrastructure. And currently, we hold more than $22 billion in Wise accounts. We also have over 6,000 people working at Wise. So we're definitely not small. We have quite an impact globally. With Wise, your money will always be protected. Wise is licensed to hold your money, and as part of keeping it safe, we follow strict rules set out by the authorities in the countries that we operate in. Your money is safeguarded, which means that it's held separately from our own, and it's held with major names like Barclays and JP Morgan Chase. We also have our two-factor authentication to protect access to your account. And that's pretty much what I want to just give you an idea of what WISE is and what we do. And now we're going to talk a little bit about the three challenges that you're going to be facing when moving abroad. The first one, or the first one, is the foreign hidden exchange fees. So when relocating, you'll also need to relocate your assets. Converting currencies can be expensive and exchange rates can be volatile. Opaque payment processes and speeds will be the second challenge. And when I say opaque, I mean it isn't transparent, it's not clear, you don't always know what you're getting out on the other side. Tax reporting. Some expats living abroad still have tax obligations depending on where you're from. It's important to have accurate statements to submit to your tax authorities. So these are three of the more impactful problems that you'll be facing and that we'll be going over today. So we're going to start off with foreign hidden exchange fees. So yeah, the challenge of the foreign hidden exchange fees is it's crucial to be mindful of the costs involved when transferring money internationally. Traditional providers and banks often claim that there are no transfer fees, but this can be misleading. The reality is that many banks mark up the exchange rate, which means they receive less than which means you receive less than anticipated on the other side. And over time, this can end up costing you thousands annually. So how it works is basically these providers, these banks will purchase currencies in bulk at a discounted rate. They'll add their own markup to that, their own margin to that when selling that currency back to you. And this markup is where they make their profit. And it's often not transparent, right? Because they'll say there's no transfer fee, but in actual fact, they have included it into the actual conversion rate, the exchange rate itself. So this can add up. This can potentially cost you quite a lot the more you send. Now, to help you navigate the challenge of the hidden fees, here are some tips from our side. We encourage you to look for providers that offer transparency in their fees and pricing structures, explaining how they came up with those fees. Always compare providers and find the real exchange rate. You can use Wise's price comparison tool to see how different providers compare to each other. Use Wise to ensure you get the mid-market rate with no hidden fees. And I'll explain a little bit more about what the mid-market rate is in a moment. So here is a screenshot from our price comparison tool, which you can find on the internet, on the web, as well as through the Wise website or the Wise app. When setting up your transfer, we'll give you the option to access this comparison tool so that you can have a look and see exactly how Wise is comparing and if you know how much money you're saving or if there's a better offer out there for you. So I want to just highlight some things here. If you have a look at the exchange rate column, you'll see that Wise is using the mid-market exchange rate. Now, essentially, this is the exchange rate that you will find when you Google the currency exchange on the internet, right? It's not necessarily 100% accurate, but that's essentially what the mid-market exchange rate is. Now, you'll have a look at the other providers, and there are slight differences in the numbers that are being presented there. Now, to someone who doesn't work with these numbers on a daily basis, these slight differences might not seem like much. But if you shift to the right side of the screen and you have a look at how much less you're getting paid out, you can really see that it has quite a substantial effect. In this example, we're sending 20,000 USD and converting it, United States dollars and converting it to euros. And if you have a look at the transfer fees, you can see Wise is charging a $64 transfer fee there. The other providers, well, most of them at least, are saying that there's no transfer fee at all. Yet the payout on the other end is significantly less. And that's just because of that subtle change in the exchange rate. exchange rate volatility is constantly changing, and the exchange rate is constantly fluctuating and, excuse me, can change drastically without warning due to market conditions or geopolitical events. This volatility means that the timing of your transactions can significantly affect how you receive or how much you receive when you convert currencies. Moreover, tracking these fluctuations can be both difficult and time-consuming, adding another layer of complexity to managing your finances effectively. And understanding these dynamics this dynamic is crucial for anyone dealing with international transfers, and it directly impacts the value of your money and your financial planning. Now, we have some market insights here for you. Exchange rates can be significant, as we've seen, can have a significant impact on how much you get on the other side, especially when you send large transfers. And sorry, my apologies. We offer a couple of things to help you track this. So we offer you a live exchange rate tracking and alerts. So you know when it hits a desired rate, the exchange rate hits that desired rate that you're looking for, whether you're planning a future transfer, budgeting for international expenses, or managing cash flow for a business. These alerts allow you to act at the right time. You can also set up auto conversions. So you set up the auto conversion transfer, and we'll watch the rate for you and convert your money automatically when the desired rate is met. On our website, you can also access historical exchange rate data, giving you insights into past trends, market movements. And by analyzing these patterns, you can identify periods of where the currencies are stronger or weaker. This can help you plan and be a little bit more strategic. Yes, sorry, I wasn't showing you the clips there. But you can see there's a breakdown of showing the exchange rate history. So our top tips here are to monitor the exchange rate. So regularly keep track of that. Plan your transfers and time them to take advantage of the favorable rates, and gain more control by leveraging Wise's rate alerts, auto conversions, and rate locking features to get the most out of your transfers. The second challenge is the opaque process and speed of the transfers. Now, traditionally, transferring money across borders is made up of a chain of banks handing the payment from one to the other. So it's a long chain of the banks, and they all just passing it off from one to the other until it gets to the recipient on the other side. And each of these banks has their own due diligence checks, their own processes slowing everything down. So Wise's infrastructure bypasses this. Essentially, we have our own accounts in these different countries that we operate in. And when you're sending money, you're paying it into the one account. So let's say you're paying it into our United States dollars account, and we're paying it out on the other side out of our euros account. So it bypasses that whole chain of banks passing the funds from one to another, and has a significant increase in how quickly the money gets to the other side. Now, you remember this slide from earlier. I want you to focus on this section here. At the moment, 74% of our payments are instant. And to us, that means within 20 seconds, right? So that means that there's less time wondering where your money is. There's time stressing about these types of, where it is, what's going to happen, when is it going to arrive, and allows you to focus that energy in a more productive way. Now, what does transparency actually look like? So if you look on the left on number one, you can have a look at the tracking of the transfer in real time. So we'll let you know at every stage. So you've set up the transfer, we've received your money, the money's being converted, the money is now converted, the money's been sent out. So you can know at which stage of the transfer, exactly at which step or stage the transfer is at. Then you have the upfront rates and fees. So this is the transparency. So you know how much you're paying for this transfer. You know what you're getting out on the other end. There's no guesswork that needs to take place. So you have your guaranteed delivery amount. So if you need to make a specific payment to someone on the other end, you don't have to add a little bit extra to make sure that the amount is covered. You know that this is the exact amount that's going to be reaching the other side, and you can plan more effectively. Now we move on to the complex tax reporting. So when living abroad or when residing overseas, depending on where you're from, you might still have tax obligations. So US and Israeli citizens are the first that come to mind. The tax authorities demand precise reporting and require accurate and detailed financial information from their citizens. And this is a significant burden that lies in trying to keep these records. Now, expats must gather and convert all foreign income and account activity into these reports. And of course, this is a layer of complexity that can be time consuming and making compliance a daunting task for many. It's essential to understand these responsibilities to avoid the penalties and ensure seamless financial management. We do, of course, urge you to speak to a professional tax advisor. As wise, we don't provide any advice in that regard. Now, getting this tax report to be as easy as clicking on your statements and reports from your settings on your Wise app or on the website, clicking on the statements and reports, then selecting the tax statement setting, and then after that, selecting the date range, clicking request statement, and then it will be sent to you. And that will be for the date range that you've selected, of course. Now, some tips from our side. Keep detailed financial reports throughout the year. I know that's easier said than done. Consult with a tax professional, as I mentioned earlier. You need to understand the intricacies of expatriate taxes to help keep you compliant, and and then naturally you can use Wise to generate your tax certificates to provide to your tax advisor to help you, or to the authorities yourself if you're capable. Now, how does it work? We're going to start off with signing up to Wise, right? It's pretty straightforward. You provide your email address in the field like the one on the left. You're going to create a password. You're going to enter your phone number for the two-step verification. You're going to specify your country of residence, enter your legal name, date of birth, and address, get your account verified with your personal documents. So it's pretty standard for any type of account that you would have today: email address, phone number, your physical address, and your personal details. Now, how does the verification work? Verification depends on where you are registered, as well as which country you're in or sending to or from. In most cases, we'll ask you for a photo of your ID document, or a photo of your ID documents and a selfie of yourself, or possibly a selfie of you holding your ID document and a proof of address. Then once you have access to your account, you can request your local account details. You'll see something similar to the screen on the left. You'll click Get Account Details, select a currency. You'll add in the specific currency that you want the account details for. Bear in mind, there are only 8 of them. You'll click Get Account Details on the little green button underneath the balance. Then you'll select an amount to add to the account. We will ask you to add at least £20 or the equivalent to get the account details. This is not a fee. Once you have the account details, that money is yours to spend. You can send it right back to yourself. You can spend it on the card. You can do with it as you please. It's just required to open the account. You can change the currency that you're paying in, as well as change the payment method. So you can choose which option, the option that best suits you. Debit cards, for example, or bank transfers. There are a number of different options based on the currency that you're paying in, so you can have a look there and see which option best is better suited for you. So once you have the account details to actually access it, you would then click on the account number under your balance, as shown in the little graphic on the side here. You'll click on the account number. It'll open up. You'll see the account number, an IBAN in some instances, the routing number if it's an American account, SWIFT codes, anything that you would require. So essentially, everything that you would get from an actual account locally would be displayed there. You can copy it. You can share it with the sender, the person who's sending you funds. Now, the rate alert, clicking on to set up a rate alert, you would click on your on the top right. Sorry, it depends on if you're using the desktop website or if you're on the app. If you're on the website, you'd click on the top right. If you're on the app, it'll be on the top left. There's a little circular icon with your initials. You click on that, you scroll down to your notifications, select exchange rate alerts, you set the alert and the notification method. Do you want to get an SMS, an email, or just a pop-up notification on your phone? Then we have the auto conversion. Now, this is set up as you are making a transfer or a conversion from one currency to the other. You click on the balance of the currency you'd like to convert from. You enter the amount of the money you want to convert, select the option, convert, choose your desired FX rate. So how much, at what rate you want it to be converted at, and we will then monitor that and executed when that rate is met. Now, who can use Wise? So essentially, individuals and businesses transferring funds overseas. Whether you're buying property, investing abroad, receiving inheritance, or maybe you're sending money to friends and family, traveling, or paying tuition fees abroad. Essentially, anywhere where you're converting funds or need to convert one currency to another, Wise is the ideal solution for you. Now, why is Wise for you? Well, we understand the challenges of relocating abroad. We help people move their money every day. We move vast quantities of money every day. You get automatic discounts on large transfers. So anything over £20,000 or the equivalent in the currency is automatically discounted and can have a significant impact when you're sending 200,000 or 500,000 if you're buying a property or moving your assets from one country to the other. You don't need to specifically request these discounts. You will see the discounts being applied while you're setting up your transfer. And because of our partnership with Gibbesch Consulting, you will get an account manager to help you every step of the way when signing up through them. I do want to quickly talk about the Wise card as well, because it's a very powerful tool, in my opinion. It's a debit card, much like any other that you already have. Think of it as a card that always has the right currency on hand, always has the right currency. How our card works is it pays in the local currency where you are, and it'll look at your Wise balance, look at which currencies you have available, and convert from the one, automatically convert from the one that has the best exchange rate at that time. There's also the physical and the digital cards, and both of them can connect to your wallet. And then there are some limits on sending and receiving money. And this can be something that people can sometimes take for granted or not take into account, rather. While our limits are dependent on the currency you are sending to or from, we do have generous limits on most of our currencies. As you can see, for the more popular currencies like the US and pounds and euros. It ranges from 1 million to 1.2 million on the euros, which is quite significant. As you can see with the US, it's per wire transfer, so it's not necessarily limited to a specific month. And in some cases, these limits can be increased to 20 million when adding the funds to your Wise balance. And that's pretty much what we do. That's the account for the world's money. I touched on some more of the more important benefits more features that would benefit you the most. There's a lot more to it, of course, and we'd happily speak to you more about those. Um, because of our partnership, as a result of our partnership with Gibbesch Consulting, you would also get a free transfer up to £1,000. So you would be able to send a transfer of up to £1,000 or the equivalent without paying any transfer fees. And you can sign up using this QR code here. If you aren't able to scan this QR code, I'm sure you can reach out to Gibbesch. They will happily help you with a referral link. And then we would be more than happy to speak to you and answer any questions that you have, walk you through any process from start to finish, and make sure that you don't, try and alleviate the pressure of moving money abroad. I want to say thank you to everyone for joining tonight. I'd love to answer questions. I know Tal will go through the questions now, and let's see if we can answer any of them for you. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. I'll join you here. So we have really long questions. We'll try to get. Thank you for your presentation. It was very interesting. Well, I have to say that we already got questions before from people who said that they cannot attend and will see the recording. But let's start with an interesting question that was asked. When transferring a significantly large amount of money between countries, how do you make sure the receiving bank won't block the transfer due to money laundering suspicion? For example, if I want to transfer a large sum from my Israeli bank account to my German bank account.
It's a very good question.
It
So
is.
as I mentioned earlier, we are regulated across the world, right? So in any of these countries that we're regulated in, there are, well, because of these regulations, let me put it this way, we have a very strict internal risk system, as well as a team of people who monitor these. I don't have all the specifics, and I wouldn't be able to share the specifics with you on how we do it. But you would set up the transfer, you would send the money, and we would notify you and say, depending on the system, we might reach out to you and ask you for documentation. We might ask you for a little bit more explanation and send that money through, depending on what we find. If it makes sense, if it doesn't make sense, but it's quite an intricate system. Naturally, I can't share exactly the inner workings of that system. I hope that answers your question.
Well, I see that we have questions from a lot of Israelis, so we're trying to answer, but it actually connects to a question that I was asked. Does one have to sign some kind of statement for anti-money laundering when transferring more than the 10,000 in local currency?
In general, we don't ask you to make statements like that. Although I do know that with the Israeli verification specifically, the verification process can be slightly stricter than most countries, where we do ask you for some additional details. I think in some cases we might ask you to actually make a statement via a video recording. It's more something that we would need to have a look at specifically depending on the profile. But it is definitely with Israeli accounts, it can be slightly more complex to get verified. You might need to show two different types of ID documents as well.
Okay. Um, this is a very good question. Is it possible to get Wise card when I'm signed up in Israel? And then is it a good idea to update my account once I move to Germany?
That is a great question. I would need to have a look specifically for Israel. Um, so, in short, I'm going to say this quickly. I'm going to just close my stop sharing my screen for a moment because it is something that I'll need to have a look up for you. So, just to give you an idea of why, um, we have a certain amount of features available, right? Like our entire product available. And depending on the regulations of the different countries that we operate in and what they allow us to do, not all the benefits are available everywhere. Some places won't be able to get cards, some places won't be able to get bank account details, for example. I just need to quickly have a look here. Um, but I'll have a look. I'll give you that answer now in a second. But specifically as to whether you can get the card. But as a when you've now moved to Germany, all we need to do is change your address. You would email us. As I mentioned earlier, we have the bespoke support for you. So you would give us an email, say, "Hey, listen, I'm now living in Germany. This is the address. Here's the proof of address," and we will change the address on the account for you. Once that address has been changed and is now part of the account, you now fall under that jurisdiction, those regulations. So if Germany is definitely allowed to have that Wise card, you will then be able to get the Wise card if you never weren't able to get it previously.
Okay. And can people transfer money to Wise as Wise and not as a service for money transfer? For example, if there's a bank account, so can they use it as a digital wallet, for example?
Sorry, I don't think I understand. Yeah, I understand using it as a digital wallet. Sorry, can you
If,
just start the question
yes.
again?
Can they, for example, I have someone in the US and they want to transfer money until they
Mhm.
move. So the question was if they can transfer the money to Wise itself instead of another account in the EU or Germany that they don't have. If they can transfer it to Wise, and then when they have another account in Germany, then if they can transfer the money in Wise to the other
Of
account.
course, of course. So yes, while Wise isn't a bank, we offer most of our features. There's so much utility in Wise that you could essentially use it as a bank. We have account details. You can hold money, you can receive money, you can send money. You have the debit cards. So yes, in your specific scenario, you could upload, or well, you could send all your money to your Wise account and then decide from there what you want to do with it. Do you want to send it to someone, another account in a different country? Do you want to keep it with Wise? We also have assets and interest accounts depending on where you are, so that you can earn interest on your funds held with Wise, so it's not just stagnant. So it really is up to you.
Okay. So this is a topic that for the next question that actually I know that a lot of people are struggling with, definitely Israelis, that they have different inheritance rules and taxes than Germany, or no taxes than Germany, and Germany taxed it a lot. But in the context of WISE, the question was whether WISE allows receiving inheritance funds in Israeli currency when the sender's account is not under the same name, which documents are required, and in what language?
That's a very specific question. Okay, before we do move on to that question, I would like to just address the Israeli card. So sadly, no, we are not able to offer the card in Israel, but we will be able to offer it in Germany once you are there. So to answer the specific question, again, it's not something that I'd be able to answer in depth right now. I would be happy to um, provide you with more specific feedback once I've had a look through our criteria. Um, especially when it's something like this, we are quite particular when it comes to where the money's coming from. As we mentioned earlier, we're very highly regulated. probably one of the highest regulated industries because of the fact that we're operating in so many different countries. But we would need to have a look at the specifics of that specific request, inheritance, the accounts, what documentation is required. Tal, would we be able to make a note of this question and potentially get back to this
Yeah,
person? I
definitely.
could research this and get back to you as soon as possible with a specific
Definitely.
response.
Since I don't know this person, you can contact through the email address that you got the link from and the emails from, and then we can answer properly. So,
Yes.
no problem.
My apologies, but it does require a little bit of. I don't want to give you any incorrect information. It would require me to go and have a look and be specific.
Okay. One question, kind of follow-up question that I think that you already answered, but just to make sure, is Wise compatible with major German banks like Deutsche Bank, Sparkasse, Commerzbank?
So essentially, Wise can send to any bank like as if to any bank as if you were sending it from your own bank account, right? So you might encounter situations where a bank might ask you for a proof of transfer or something of that just to verify where the money is coming from. But in general, they shouldn't have any issue with the money coming from us. And if they do, they'll generally pose a very specific question, which you can pose to us, and we should be able to provide a solution or get in touch or try and remedy that to some degree. In most cases, we don't have issues sending money to banks. You might encounter some problems when paying money to investment portfolio platforms, but that's not the same thing.
The next question I would actually read as is because I'm pretty sure it's not only Israeli problem. It's actually kind of international.
Mhm.
I don't have an Israeli bank account, only a German one. When I add Israeli currency in Wise, the bank details are with an IBAN in the UK. Does that
Mm.
mean that someone in Israel sending me money is doing international transfer and therefore will have to pay a fee in their bank?
So yeah, that's a very good observation. So we only offer account details in 8 different currencies. I'll look for the exact different currency, but it's the major currencies, and Israeli shekel is not one of them, sadly. But what we do have is the British bank account details. We have a function that allows that with our partner, the banking partner that we have there, we have a function that allows that account detail to act as a bank account, as to receive those currencies from, um, from Israel, for example. But essentially, those transfers are being processed through Swift. And because of that, the nature of Swift, it doesn't go through our standard infrastructure. If you remember earlier, I explained how the traditional banking method works, where one bank hands the money off to another bank. That's essentially Swift. And that happens a lot well, that'll happen even with Wise when you're sending a currency to a country where that's not the normal currency. So, for example, if you're sending US dollars to euro without converting it, so it's being received as US dollars in Europe, that that is paid through a SWIFT process where the banks are actually handing the money from one to the other. And that's what's happening with the account that you mentioned there.
Okay.
Generally, there are additional fees when it's processed in this manner, and it is generally quite a bit slower than the standard process.
Is there a limit to the transfer per day?
It depends on the currency, and it depends on where and where you're sending from. As I mentioned earlier with the sending and receive limits, when you saw the 1 million for USD per wire transfer. So I mean 1 million that will all in one transfer, that's per day. There are some instances where you are limited to how much you can send in a day or in a month, or with a specific payment method. So cards, for example, you won't be able to pay 1 million, but it really does depend on the currency. We do have this information online. Again, if you reach out to Tal, we can put you in touch with one of our specialists. We can look into the specific currency parts that you're looking at, the currency pairs, and the payment methods available on those currencies, because it does vary.
I have here a question that actually comes up a lot. Is only address proof is enough for getting Wise card? No need for any kind of residence permit or local bank account?
Again, it depends. It depends. So the local bank account, no, we don't have a look at that. But in general, when you need to, if we do ask you to provide a proof of address, most of the time we one of the documents that we accept is a local bank account because they generally show the account, the address on the bank statement. So maybe that's what you're referring to there. But again, it would be specific to the region that you're in, and your specific profile. Most of the time, we will ask you for it depends. It's not always that we need a proof of address. Some, depending on the region that you are, just a ID document is more than sufficient enough. But in some other instances, we might ask you for the proof of address. And especially as you mentioned, the residency permit, that's a very good point as well. We might ask you for a right to reside. If you set your account for the UK or Germany, for example, and you have an account, a passport from another country, we will ask you for either a visa to be there or a residency permit. Again, because we are highly regulated, we do need to make sure of these things.
Okay. Question here, is it possible to transfer money through Wise to a bank account in Germany using a credit card? Or it's only done through a bank transfer?
No, you can pay for your transfer with a credit card. That's not a problem. As I said, that we have multiple payment methods that you can use to pay for your transfer. Cards, because cards are also generally quite quick, so we receive the money quick, so we can process the transfer quicker. But generally, it's a more expensive payment method. Bank transfers are slightly slower, but generally more affordable. But there's a number of different methods that you can use to pay for your transfer.
Okay. Here's actually really good point because people who have clients and use Wise only to pay this specific invoice, for example. So do they also have to go through the process of putting a certain amount in order to open the Wise account or to make it usable if they're doing one-time transfer?
No, not if you're. So I feel like I need to make a distinction as well, that there's the personal account and there's the business account, right? So we don't want you to do any business transactions through the personal account. So if you, and I know you're talking about one-time payments, but if you are transacting on a business level, it would be best to get a business account, in which case we will ask you for a £45 or equivalent fee to get the account details, but that's only on the business account. When it comes to the personal account, we don't ask you for any fee to sign up. The only thing we do ask for when you request the account details is to add that £20 or equivalent, but it's not a fee. On the personal account, it's not a fee. It's just to open the account. Once the account's open, you can send that money straight back to yourself. You can spend it with a card. You can do with it as you please.
Okay. We have two more questions. Just, I think that it wasn't very clear. Are all the limitations per transfer? So 1.2 million euros per transfer or in general?
No, not in general. So yeah, so these limits that I had here of the 1.2 million, they are specific to bank transfers mostly, and to what we can send and receive. And it will be limited to that one transfer. So if you need to send, let's say, 3 million euros, for example, you might need to do it in 2 or 3 transfers. But we're not going to limit you. We don't have a lifetime limit. on how much you can send or are allowed to send. In fact, we would love you to send whenever and how much you can.
Okay. Um, I'm not so sure I'm clear with the question that was asked here. Is it possible to transfer euros from Israeli bank accounts to Wise or through Wise to a German bank account? I think that what you mean, just guessing here, that in Israeli accounts you have foreign currency sub account.
Mm.
And then the question, in my opinion, says that if you can transfer from this sub account, so it's not it because you buy foreign currency
So they're
in your
holding
Israeli
euros
bank
in the
account
Israeli.
and
So they're
Clyde
holding.
in sub account. So if you can transfer euro to euro, basically.
Yes. So the euros are coming from Israel, and you're sending them back to Europe. So that would be transferred through SWIFT. Whether or not it's specifically possible from Israel, I would need to have a look. Um, and the reason being is that Israel is quite highly regulated, and sending money to or from Israel is quite highly regulated. And I would need to just make 100% sure. I'll see if I can find that before the end of the conversation and come back to that if that's okay. If not, I'd encourage you to please reach out to us to tell Gibbesch again, and I can have a look at this in and give you a more detailed answer on that.
Good. I think we don't have more questions. If you have, so please do write them in the chat before we finish. I do want to add that it's very common in, I would call it, politically unstable countries to more regulate money transfers. So it first goes to the banks and then goes to other services. And so far, Israel is more regulated in the banks and traditional banks and investment houses more than the money transfer services. So this is happening also in the US right now, and of course in other countries that are politically unstable. So this is something that with every unstable event that happens in these countries, it shows again and again and worsens. So this is something to take under consideration when you do the transfers. Um, so yeah, this is basically my point of view of the things that I see that, going down and down in countries like Israel or the US. And as the more, or let's say, the worse it gets politically, then the worse it gets financially, because also individuals and businesses, companies want to take out money as soon as they can. Is the waiving on transfer fee, though, the link only for 1,000 euros?
It's for yeah, so not euros, it'll be pounds, so 1,000 pounds or equivalent. So it'll probably be around 1,100 euros roughly. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, so essentially the first £1,000 that you transfer or the equivalent thereof is the fee on that is waived. So if you're sending £1,500 or £2,000, you will be receive a fee, like a waiver for the 1,000, and then only be charged for the 500 or the additional 1,000 that you're sending.
Okay. I think that basically we have no more questions and we're reaching the time that we're supposed to end this. So if you want to add anything, closing remarks, so.
Yes, sure. So, firstly, to the individual asking about the Israeli sending euro from Israel to Europe, I'm sorry, I'm not able to find that quite the second. I would require a couple more minutes to do so to get that exact information. Please do reach out to Tel. If anyone, if you have any questions, reach out to Tel. Ask her the questions. She'll put you in touch with me, and then we can give you a specific answer on any questions. We'd be more than happy to answer these questions for you. We want to make this whole process as easy as possible for you. I think Yeah, sign up using the link. That's the code that we provided earlier. If you missed that opportunity, ask Tal. She'll send you a referral link. Um, it's free. There's no subscriptions, no obligations, so you really have nothing to lose. And we'd be more than happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much, Robert. I really appreciate that you came here today and gave us these very interesting insights into this world. And I thank the people that came, and I know that some of you, it's middle of work day. So, and some of you, sacrifice the putting kids in bed. So I'm very happy that we got the chance to talk about it. And if you want more details, please um, email us and we will refer you to Robert. Thank you very much. And again, have a great evening and good night
Thank you
for
so much,
you.
everyone.